welcome to the Ordinary Black Professionals. I'm Nicole,
And I'm Stefan.
and today we're talking all things salaries, how much consultants earn, asking people about their salaries, why that's often very, very awkward, and leaving a job to make more money.
And in our last episode, we were talking about what consultants do
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And I think it's a good opportunity now to start off talking about what consultants earn, the kind of salaries that you can see in this industry. Let's sort of delve into base salaries and what you can earn as starting off in the industry in consulting, right? When you come in, let's say you come in as a graduate, the kind of salary that you're kind of looking at is a lot of people come in around 25, between 25 and 33, low 30s, or something like that, is what you can sort of typically see. I've noticed in the last couple of years that salaries have been increasing a little bit for the
mm,
starting salaries to come into the industry. I think it's just a symptom of inflation
yeah,
or something like that. Salaries going up a little bit, but yeah, back in when I started, it's typically around 25, but
yeah,
now I'm noticing a lot of people a lot closer to 30.
yeah. When I started, it was around the 28K mark,
Mm.
so it was around that.
So that's the kind of wages, salary that you can see when you sort of come into the industry. And then as you progress and you get more experience, more years under your belt, then you sort of look, you start looking at mid 30s in the first couple of years. And I think between 2 to 4 years, you can be looking at, mid 30s to about even up to 60K. But if you're looking at 60, that's pretty high.
Yeah, so it's between like I would say 40 to 60K with 2 to 4 years experience.
Yeah.
Is probably pretty standard. And again, this is all going to kind of vary massively depending on what company you work at, if they're big or small, if they are kind of specializing in a particular industry. So these are just rough guides, rough gauges. That's why the salary bracket is quite a big one.
Yeah, I'd say if you're in between that time frame, 2 to 4 years, and you're at the higher end, 60s, you're doing pretty well at that point.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But that being said, I know people who have had 3 years experience and they're hitting into that 50K bracket.
Yeah,
So it really does depend on what money moves you've made to be able to get that kind of money and also what kind of skills you have and what company you're in.
yeah. And then a few years more, maybe 5 to 10 years, you're getting a few more promotions. And I think between that time, the scale gets a bit wider and wider, and you're looking at between probably 50 up to possibly 80K.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we're
easily.
talking about pounds here. Yeah, between there, but I think again, 80K probably, you're closer to the 10-year mark on 80K, I think. Did we say?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think so. I think it all depends on what again what money moves you make. And if you're
Yeah.
bouncing around every 2 years to different companies, you can command more money.
Mm,
Yeah, you can get those big pay rises, but we'll come to that later on.
yeah. You can earn beyond that as well.
Yeah, you can earn
Pip,
more, and importantly, you can earn less.
you can earn
Do you know what I mean? You
less.
can be on
Yeah,
5 year, you can have 5 years experience and be earning less than 50K.
that's right. After then, I think if you start to look at directors
MDs,
and partners and that sort of
yeah,
level, right? They earn well over 100K.
100K,
In fact, even below that level, when you look at senior managers, some of them earn over
earning
100K too,
100K.
right?
Yeah,
So,
that's quite normal in consulting for people to earn that kind of money, that
yeah.
100K. If you are that senior
Mm. So I think, probably 130K plus, you know,
for
if you're a
MDs,
director and they've got a lot of responsibility, they're
yeah,
responsible for pretty much everybody else in the business. And yeah, a lot of pressure on their shoulders, but that's sort of salaries that you're sort of looking at in this industry.
yeah.
I would say that these salaries, though, I think we have to bear in mind that they may be a bit London focused.
Yeah, these salaries here are London focused for sure.
Yeah. If you're looking at sort of Manchester, you know,
Edinburgh, obviously
yeah,
they're going to differ slightly. They're going to be a lot lower.
it's going to be lower. Yeah, in general, and cost of living will be lower, so it'll sort of balance out
Hmm.
most of the time. But that's sort of what you're looking at. And I think when you look at these salaries, it's a well-paid industry.
Yeah, that's so important that like it's an industry where you have some jobs
Hmm.
where there's like a cap. So the highest someone can earn is 50K, and one man in the company and one woman, one
Yeah,
person in the company earns that 50K, and you can only ever get to that position if that person leaves or retires, and
yeah,
then someone else can step into that 50K job.
yeah,
In consulting, it's just not that. Everyone, like loads of people, many people can earn 50K, 60K, whatever it is. And it really is an industry where there is no cap on your salary. You can literally earn as much as you like. I mean, within reason, you're not going to earn
yeah. Not
a
as much
million
as you
a
like,
month,
but yeah,
but there's no cap on like the earning potential stops at kind of 70. If you want to earn 100, 150K a year, then you absolutely can. Like you've got that scope and that range to do that. I
yeah.
think that's what
I
differs
totally
so
agree.
much around consulting.
That is
And
a
it is
really
a
good point.
very highly paid industry.
Yeah,
Most people in the UK don't earn, even Londoners don't earn 50K there or 80K. Their package is not that much. It's not 40K even.
mm,
Um, so that's so important when we speak about these salaries and we're throwing out these numbers, which I can imagine to a lot of people listening it is a lot of money, which it 100% is. But in consulting, it's not necessarily, 50K is not the peak of the peak by any means.
yeah. I spoke to a colleague one time, and he told me he's from Rome. He told me that in Rome, the culture is very different to here in the UK. They like to they get a job, and typically the culture over there is that you sort of stay in that job for a long period of time. And so the young people may find it difficult to get into the market because there's so many people sort of sitting in their
Right,
positions in these companies. So he said it's better here in the UK because people are more willing to move.
right.
People are more willing to try different things in their careers, go to different industries, and and those job positions come available. So maybe that's
But
quite a good thing in this culture.
yeah, I mean, but that being said, this is quite a recent thing that people are moving around and they're more open to changing jobs quite frequently.
When you say recent,
I would say in our parents' generation, it was
yeah,
you're in a job and you're in that job for life.
mm,
Like people our parents' age are more likely to have been in the same company for 15, 20, 30 years because they were there, they was getting good money, they've got a good pension. Why leave? And they may not have had loads of skills to be able to jump around like that. Whereas nowadays, if you were to be in a company for 5 years, people would be like, wow, you were in the company for a really long time.
yeah,
When in the grand scheme of things, 5 years isn't, it's not a long time to spend in a company.
yeah. As you say, maybe it's more a millennial thing.
Yeah, I
Millennials are
think
more moving
so.
around. After base salary income, you'll typically be looking at the other benefits that will be available to you as a consultant as well, or just in the job market. Consultants can sometimes be paid overtime pay, but it's not always the case. So it's something to sort of consider. Sometimes you get bonuses as well. You get like a joining bonus.
Yeah,
If you're
sign-on
lucky as a grad,
bonus.
you'll get that.
But it's not even just grads. Some other companies, because they
Yeah,
want you and they want your talent, they're going to give you a sign-on bonus. That's not uncommon
yeah,
for moving around in consultancy.
yeah. Sometimes you get a yearly bonus as well. It depends on the different companies, what they're offering. If they want to attract new talent, then they offer these types of things. There are employee share schemes, so any companies maybe they could be publicly traded on the stock market, but they can also be privately owned, but and still offer you some shares. I would say though, if there is a privately owned company and they're offering you shares, and just be aware that it's probably not worth a lot until the company is publicly traded on the open market, and then those shares will probably boom. And there's other benefits as well: health insurance, life assurance, lots of other stuff, and all that stuff makes up the whole package of what you sort of be looking at as your salary. So um, as your pay. So don't just look at the base salary alone as a number. also consider these other benefits because I would say particularly the employee share scheme.
Yeah, I agree. If you've
Uh,
got the opportunity to take out shares,
mm,
I'd highly, highly recommend that you do that. Stefan and I both took out shares when we was in our previous company, and they have massively increased from what we originally put in. So would highly recommend out of everything, if you can opt in to, if you can afford to opt in to pay shares and you can pay the full amount of those, would recommend it, because a lot of the time the companies will buy when you're opting into that share scheme, you're buying those shares at a reduced rate, whether it's a 15% discount, 20% discount, whatever it is. So when those shares do go up in value, you're more, well, hopefully they'll go up in value. You're more likely to make money off of them because you did buy them at a discounted rate.
yeah, and that's right. Hopefully as well because it can go down.
Yeah,
So
I started to catch myself there, because hopefully, I think as we've seen this year during COVID, things don't always go to plan, and a
yeah,
lot of people's shares dropped this year. So, and again, your shares are only worth as much as what you sell them for, which is important to remember. So, I
yeah.
guess, how does all of this compare to what people earn, what the average salaries are in the UK? Because I feel like we're throwing around numbers here: 50K, 40K, 80K, 100K. But how does it compare? Let's make it feel real to people.
The average salaries in the UK differs by where you live. In London, the average salary, according to I think it's HMRC data, is £37,000, and the southeast of England is about 32. If you move a bit more north and you look at the northeast, that can be £27,000. So depending on where you live, the average salary changes.
And then I think it's just important to note as well, if we think about UK salaries, just how many people are earning those kind of numbers that we spoke about. So if we kind of think around that 40K mark, we're looking at, that's the top 25% of earners in the UK who are earning around that kind of high 30s, kind of 40 grand mark. And if we're looking at 50K now, that's looking at the top 13% of earners in the UK. And then if we think of kind of around 75K now, that's the top 5% of earners. And all these numbers here, we've gotten that from the HMRC. So you just kind of put that into perspective. The majority of people in the UK earn around 25K, so that's the top 50% of earners will earn that amount. So really, in the grand scheme of things,
Mhm.
when we talk about these salaries of, even 25 to 33K for graduate earners, going up to, 50 to 80K for individuals who have that 5 to 10 years experience, these are really, really high salaries. And we really just want to emphasize that we're aware that consultants, these are high salaries, and we're aware of that. Um,
Yeah, higher than average in the market for the UK. But there are careers like this and many other careers as well that offer you these kind of salaries.
yeah, offer you that earning potential.
Yeah. Have you ever asked someone what they're paid before?
I have, yes.
Right? Because I'm asking the question because I'm, here in British culture, it's generally taboo to ask somebody that sort of question, how much you're paid and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is. Someone was telling me actually the other day how, I can't remember what country it is, but one of the Scandinavian countries, they actually have everyone's salary published,
Uh-huh.
like on a website, and it's just like everyone knows each other's salary. So you could find out your boss's salary or your colleague's salary, and there's no like awkwardness around it because it is just published, just like shared knowledge.
I did hear about that, yeah. I think it's not that the salary is published, it's that the tax returns are public. And so through the tax returns you can see what people are earning.
Right, okay.
And yeah, is that a good thing?
Depends. It depends. I think it's a good thing to know people's salary because, well, do you know what? It all depends. If you're comparing someone who's in the same industry as you, then yes, it's a good thing to know people's salary. So you've got an idea of where your career can get to in terms of salary, whether your colleagues are earning the same amount as you, whether you're being underpaid or overpaid, all that information is good to know. So it's good to speak to people in your industry about salaries.
Hmm.
Why it's not cannot be so good is A, people can feel really salty.
Really salty.
So
Yeah.
whether you're in the same industry or not, if I'm on, 30K and I'm struggling to, or not even if you're struggling, if I'm on 30K and at 28 years old, and I've got a friend who's on 70K at 28 years old, I may look at that person and be like, oh, so what did, how come you're on so much more than me and I'm on this salary? Like it can make people feel some kind of
Yeah,
way.
they feel a way about it. Yeah.
And so if you're one of those people, then I'd probably say maybe it's just if you want to ask that question, really, really think about how that's going to make you feel. And whenever I've asked someone their salary, I've I've kind of disclosed how much I've earned. I've always kind of taken whatever they're going to tell me. I'm not going to feel salty about it. I may feel salty if I feel like I should be on the same as them, but I'm not going
Mm,
to feel jealous towards how much they earn. No.
mm,
So we all have to think about like how are you going to handle that information. But I think it's really important that people do speak about their salaries more.
yeah.
If you had asked me this 2 years ago, I probably would have said no, like not really worth speak like no, keep it to yourself. I don't think it's really worth speaking about your salary, blah blah blah. But as I'm progressing up more and more and more through my career, and I'm doing more research around, how women don't open up about their salaries and how they're underpaid, and then how black women even more don't open up about their salaries and are even more underpaid than their white female counterparts. I'm just seeing the importance more and more and more to talk about your salary. So you're getting paid what you're worth, and you have a general idea of how to negotiate your salary as well when you're moving jobs or asking for a pay rise or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Have you ever asked, how do you feel talking about your salary? Do people ask you about how much you earn?
You know what? If I was talking to somebody who worked in the same industry as me and we did a similar type of thing, then I think I would be more happy to talk about my salary.
Oh,
I-
really?
Yeah. If I'm talking to somebody
So if
who
someone asked you, messaged you on chat and was like, "Hey,
I
Stefan,
don't know if it's a
I'm
message
going up
on
for
chat thing,
a."
it's more of a face-to-face conversation, isn't it?
Okay, so now
Or
you're putting rules on how someone can ask the question.
or at least on Zoom, at least
Okay, so they go, "Hey, can I put
because
some time?"
there has to be some tone and tact
Okay, do you have
included.
to know them? Like, do they have to be a friend? Because I've only ever asked people who I consider like people who I'm closer to at work. I wouldn't just ask someone who I'm not that close to.
That is a good question. Um, it would be much easier if I know them and well, or reasonably well,
Mm.
or at least as a work colleague. But if somebody who I'd rarely speak to asked me that, mm, maybe I'd still tell them as long as they would still work in my area, in
Okay.
my business, or
So if it was someone who didn't, like a family member or a friend who wanted to know how much you were on, so you obviously don't work in your industry, would you be open to tell them that?
I think that because that is more in my personal life, and it leads to sometimes when you mix, personal life and stuff like that with that information, they can go and take that back and start feeling away, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because they don't work in your area, they don't know the type of work you do, they make assumptions about how you work, if you work hard enough for that kind of money or not, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah, for sure.
difficult to,
You're on that much?
yeah,
I
and
don't even feel like you work that
yeah,
hard.
you work hard, you don't that much, and you get to work from home,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're like a builder or something, and they're like work hard, and
Yeah.
they've got that sort of ethic, and working hard means manual labor or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, then then I would be more hesitant to talk about that because they, for all I know, they earn more than me, right? But I'm not going to take that risk, if you know
So
what I mean.
if they ask you, you wouldn't ask them.
I go by a rule. If I'm not going to, if I don't want to give up that information personally,
Mm.
I'm not going to ask you for the same
I
information.
100% agree. So if I ask someone, it's because fully expecting that person to ask me the same question back.
Yeah.
Or even if they don't, I'll just say, because I feel like I need to, if they've opened up so much to me, I feel like I should open up to them as well. So I'm 100% the same. Um, I have to say, there's probably more people at work who, and some of these people at work I do consider to be friends, but there's probably more work friends that know my salary than people who I've known for years. Like my own family don't know how much I earn. Like that's how taboo talking about your salary is,
Mm.
because it's just so people just do not want to ask the question. And I just find it really interesting. I'll tell you a story. Um, I was with a graduate at the time, uh, kind of sometime last year, and we were talking about student loan. She was saying how much student loan she pays, and our amounts were different because she started uni after me. So she
She's
paid
on plan
the,
two.
yeah, she paid the nine grand. So she was saying to me, oh, even though, well, she was talking to me about how much she pays back in student loan. She asked me how much I pay. So I went over to I went onto my laptop. It was in a private meeting room, so it's just us two in there. So I went onto my laptop, looked up my pay slip to go and tell her how much student loan had. And just as I'm about to tell her the amount, she just comes over to my screen and she's just about to look at my pay slip. So I immediately close my laptop and say, "What are you doing? Back away." And this is someone who I do consider to be a friend. So I was immediately like, "What are you doing? Back away. I'm not showing you my pay. Like, don't look at my pay slip." And we had a big long conversation around pay and how it's important to talk about your pay and all this other stuff. But even at the end of all of that, I still said to her, "Well, that's all nice and dandy, but I'm not telling you how much I earn." Because I just did not feel comfortable telling her that amount, even though she wasn't even at the same level as. But do you know what I mean? Yeah, I just find it so interesting how my immediate reaction was like, step away, and she was like, no, 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 it's good. Let's have this conversation. It's good and good and good. And she's kind of taught me a lot about how it's important to be transparent with how much you earn.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, I've had friends kind of outright ask me how much I'm on, and they've been on less than me because they've chosen to work in an industry that pays less, essentially.
Yeah.
Even though we kind of, they're similar age, we either did, may have done similar courses at uni or even been at uni at the same time. Our paths have just led us in different directions, so our salary is going to be different.
Yeah.
And so on hearing the fact that I earn more than them, it's immediately like it can feel a bit awkward because they've, I wouldn't say it's jealousy or feeling salty or anything like that, but it's like, oh wow, the extra bit of money allows you to do this, or oh
Mm.
gosh, I'm never going to be on that because my industry, it doesn't pay that kind of wage, for example, or different comments like that. um or people will make comments. So if you say something later on down the line where you're like, oh gosh, yeah, it's really hard, money's really tight or something, and then they'll turn around and be like, but is it though? It can't be as tight as my money because when
Yeah.
I earn less.
Your
So
struggles are, your
little
struggles will
things
never
like that.
be equivalent, or
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And which is not right. Which is not right, in my opinion.
I also agree that's not right, because if this is a thing, even though you may earn 100K, it does not mean that you have no money troubles,
Yeah.
because who knows what your outgoings are. You could be earning 100K, but you've got a 6 grand mortgage. Your
That's
mortgage
right.
could be ridiculously high. You may have kids who are going off to private school, right? Whether you agree with that or not, but you've got a lot more outgoings,
You can have
which means that
debts.
at debts,
You can
you could
have,
have car, your
yeah.
car could be on loans, you're paying £500 a month on that. Who knows what it could be? Your house is so big, so your bills are high, your water's mad high, your gas is mad high. Um, so
Or
your so
because I,
your
I would say
outgoings are
some of
so
that
much
stuff you
so high.
mentioned is like maybe some of it could be brought upon yourself. Like you've got a leased car or something like
Yeah,
that,
why are you
right?
paying a £500 a month for
Yeah.
your lease car?
But
Do you really need to have like the latest BMW?
I mean, there's some people, okay, you make 100K, but you've got 4 kids and
Exactly.
You've got
Your
work from
partner doesn't
home.
work.
Yeah, your partner
So
doesn't
really the
work.
household income is just 100K.
Yeah,
No, don't use the word just, but it is 100K, and you've
uh,
got
uh,
this 6 grand mortgage or whatever
yeah,
it is.
100K before tax,
Yeah.
and yeah, you need to buy their clothes and you need to buy
Yeah.
their school stuff and blah blah. And then after all of that, plus the bills and to feed all these mouths and stuff like that, then you have mother troubles because you can't afford
Yeah. Exactly.
Christmas presents, for example.
Exactly. Everyone's financial setup is different. And I think a lot of the time people don't take that whole picture into account, or a lot of the time they say, oh my gosh, this person, I mean, even someone said this the other day, oh, this person earns all this, like 100K, I think it was. And it's like, yeah, but their partner doesn't work. So it's
Mm,
not like you've got two incomes of 100K or whatever it is.
yeah,
So you have to really take that into account, because if you have a couple where one earns, 50 and the other earns 20, well, you've got a household income there of 70. So
right.
it's all just taking it into account, and not just seeing things on the lens of they earn loads of money, so therefore they must be well off, or therefore, they must be fine, because that is just not the
That's
case.
that's not the case, no, at all.
Not the case at all.
And I think there's good statistics as well. A lot of people in the UK, I don't know the statistics in front of me, but a lot of people in the UK don't save. They don't have the
Yeah.
ability to save, and you can earn that much money and still
Have
not
no
have
savings.
savings.
Yeah.
You don't have money for a rainy day and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so question. Since we've spoken about kind of when people ask you, well, two questions. First question. Have you ever been surprised when people have asked you how much you earn? Like,
Um,
has it ever taken you aback and you've been like, oh, wasn't expecting that? And then therefore not known how to react?
I think asking that question is so taboo in the UK that it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, that's true.
So I can't really remember a time when someone's asked me that question or it's taken me back or anything like that. I can't remember a time when someone's directly asked me that question. Although you asked me a question earlier, have I asked somebody what they've been paid? I've I don't think I have
Have you
directly
not?
asked somebody what they are paid.
Really?
No, I would like to, but
I
I
mean,
don't know
there
what
are
the reaction will
many
be.
people who I'd love to know how much they're paid.
I
But
would like
again,
to know
I'm,
maybe, you know, in what I'm doing right now, am I fairly paid? I don't know, and I can only know by asking the question. Um, but I do remember at one point maybe doing a bit of maths, for example. So if I joined as a graduate, for example, and we've gone through the graduate scheme, and I've been there for 4 or 5 years, and I want to know whether my colleagues, I've been in the situation, right? I want to know whether my colleagues are earning what I'm earning or
yeah,
similar. I don't need to be on exactly what they're on. And so all I did is ask them, "Oh, did you get promoted?" And yes, I got promoted. All right. I said, I got a 10% pay rise, and they told me they got 20%. So then straight away I'm like, all right. So since we started on the same boat,
yeah, you can
and you
work it
got a
out.
20%, so I know that, right. So that was possible to get 20%.
Yeah,
I thought I got 10%. I thought that was good, but I didn't know it was possible to get 20%.
yeah.
And now I know that. So
Because this
that's
is,
that's as far as I've gone, to be fair.
but that's another, just a prime example why it is so important to ask. Because sometimes you'll be on a salary, whatever that is, and you're like, oh, this is good. I'm really happy with that. I feel, grateful to be on the salary that I'm on. I'm able to keep a roof over my head, eat well. I've got some disposable income. I can do some nice stuff, and I can save. I'm sorted. And then you work out that, Samantha from the round the corner is actually on 10 grand more than you. And even though that you were happy and content and that your current pay can give you everything you want, it comes down to what are you worth. And so therefore you could potentially be worth the same pay that Samantha's on.
Potentially. Although me personally, I don't like direct comparisons.
With consulting, it's so hard to do the direct
Yeah,
comparison, because with other jobs, maybe you could, I don't know, if you work in a supermarket, you could say, on the checkout, you
yeah,
both do the
exact
exact
same
same
thing.
thing. There's no discrepancy there.
Yeah,
But with consulting, you don't do the same thing. And if you have 5 years worth of experience, my 5 years worth, compared to your 5 years, it's going to be so
very
different.
different.
So it's just so hard to do that light by light comparison to say, well, Stefan's is on 40K, I'm on 35, therefore I deserve to be on 40. No,
Right.
no, this is not how it works. What value do you bring? What worth do you have? What are your skills like market? Like, what are your skills worth on the market?
Mm. And
And I think a
I
lot of
personally think,
consultants really just fail to get that point, like fail to truly understand it,
yeah.
and then feel salty because their salary is not what they think it should be.
I
Like
personally
the
think
value you'll
when you
bring
ask
is not as
someone,
much as someone else's.
when you ask someone that
Hard
question, what
truths.
are you paid? Uh, and um, and then you start doing the comparison in your head. I think you need to consider the fact that we're not all the same, and and maybe that person does something different, has got a different swag, got a different way that they do things, even though you consider yourself as good as them. Well, maybe you're not.
Yeah.
Just because you consider yourself as good as them doesn't mean you are. Or just because, you see that they do, these things on this project, doesn't mean that that's all they can do.
Mm,
Doesn't mean that you've seen their breadth of skills and
mm,
abilities and things like that, or knowledge. That doesn't mean you're comparable,
yeah,
in my opinion.
I
Um,
agree.
you just need to, I think personally, I think you need to look at yourself in isolation. You need to look at the market. You need to look at your skills and see what you're potentially worth. And you can do a slight comparison with, I think one person is not enough to do a comparison with. I think you need different people to
Yeah,
look at and see where, maybe you're actually in the middle of that
yeah,
group of people and you're like, okay, so I'm sort of in the bracket here.
I agree. I agree.
What was your second question?
I've forgotten what it is. What was my second question? Oh, the second question was, have you ever felt salty by, like, I know we've just spoken about how people feel and all that other stuff, and you
Yeah,
shouldn't feel salty and or jealous or anything like that, but we're all human,
yeah.
and you know, those feelings do come in every now and again. So have you ever felt that way when someone's told you their salary?
I would say I have felt it mildly, yes. I've asked someone or found out what someone's doing and felt it mildly, and it's not a reflection on them or because of them or what they
No, it's
earn.
not
It's
necessarily
more,
a, oh, I don't think you deserve that.
no, no, no.
It's not coming. It's not like that.
It's more, the fact of what was going on at the time.
Right.
And what was going on at the time was maybe I felt like I was worth more. And
Mm,
probably part of the reason why I'm asking them that question is because I'm trying to understand what other people are paid to gauge where I'm at
mm,
and whether my feelings are valid. And um, I'm also taking into account the way I have felt about the work that I've done.
mm,
Like, in the consultant industry, you can put in a lot of effort. You can put in day and night and weekends and all sorts of stuff. And I've put in a lot of effort at at times.
yeah.
And and I felt like, I should be valued. I should be paid
Rewarded
in
for
the
the value
market,
you bring. Yeah.
what I think I, I should be worth. And someone then tells me that they're on higher than me, and I realize, hmm, something's not right here, and I feel a bit annoyed.
Yeah.
Maybe is the question. And to be fair, I don't know what they have done. I don't know whether they have done day, night, weekends as well, and
Yeah.
and
You
and
don't
done
know their full
better,
journey.
better and bigger work than
Yeah.
me and stuff like that. But I felt like, the way I had it made me feel like the way I had felt before was correct, was
Mm,
justified. And so that's the sort of mild, what do you call it, salty or something like that?
yeah. Feeling
Sort
salty.
of mild saltiness that I had felt on that. Um, yeah, but I didn't feel it towards them, and I was happy for them that they're
Yeah.
on.
Good on you.
Yeah, that's good
Get
on
your
them.
coin.
Um, Annoyed maybe for myself. How about yourself?
I think it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's been, yeah, more probably annoyed, um, that somebody is earning more, and I feel that the value that I bring, or the skills and expertise that I bring, is worth that same amount as well. So, happy for the person that they're earning what they're on. Good on them, good for them. But wishing that my pay kind of was similar or reflected the value that I believe that I bring to the company. So yeah, I think it's exactly the same, really echoing what you said.
Yeah.
Moving on from asking people about how much they're on, what's your thoughts on leaving a job kind of every 2 to 3 years to earn more money? Because I have friends who will move jobs every 2 to 3 years to make sure they're consistently getting those big pay rises.
When you say will, they are consciously and actively doing it.
Yes. I remember being in my first consultancy company and a manager saying to me that he consciously moves jobs every 2 to 3 years so he can get those big pay rises. Because in consulting, I don't know what pay rises are like if you're not in consulting, because I've got no experience of that and I haven't asked people who aren't in the industry. But from my experience of kind of my pay rises, or when I've left companies, or people that I know, it's like big jumps. We're talking about 10 grand jumps, if not more. Maybe, well, I would say probably five to 10 plus years gaps kind of thing. So I'm interested to know what's your thoughts on consciously, consistently, always making sure that you're moving on every 2 to 3 years. So you're like, I don't
Yeah,
want to say chasing the money, but I guess that's why you are moving,
that
to
is
get more money. So you are chasing after the coin.
pretty much. I think so. I met a guy one time. I barely knew him. I literally met him on the day. And you know how sometimes you meet you know older guys than you, and they feel like on that first day they meet you, it's time to give their impart their knowledge on you for some reason.
Yeah.
So I met this guy, and he told me that I need to be moving jobs every 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah. And I was like,
What?
what are you talking about? I barely, if I
No.
barely passed my probation then. And he was like, yeah, you need to move every 6 months. Don't waste time, blah, blah, blah. Keep applying for jobs. And I get it. I think some people really keep applying for jobs and they want to keep their eye on the market, always see what's out there and things like that. Maybe there's something better. But personally, I think the grass is not always greener. And there's certain things I value. I value um, working in a place where I feel comfortable, working in a place where I feel uh, I, I have some affinity with the values that they hold. Working in a place where I feel happy to come to work every day.
Yeah, important things. Because you
Yeah,
spend so much time at work.
you spend your whole life at
Yeah.
work, right? So it's not right for me to go to work and not feel those things.
Mm. I mean, look at when I was working out of London, in hotels Monday to Friday. I was at work.
Yeah,
I saw work people more than I saw my family.
I mean, and I continue to see work people want to my family. So, and that's not going to stop. You know, you're going to have kids, you're going to have, family and all that sort of thing, and you're still going to see work people more than your family. So it's not right for me to not feel at home, or well, not at home, but feel comfortable at work.
Yeah, I agree.
So I value those things, and for that reason, I won't leave a job every 2 to 3 years if I feel those things, unless the pay rise is very significant, one, and two, the next job that I'm going to, I feel like I could feel those things, and I would have done my due diligence at the interview stage,
Yeah.
and the research on the company and that sort of thing.
Because I think
Yeah.
what this comes down to is, what is your motivator, like what drives you? And I think money for some people is a motivator,
Mm.
but I think that quickly wears off.
Well, for
Do you know
me,
what I mean?
I always
Like,
say that is
if
never a motivator because
it, no, but it is though.
it's a
If you,
short-term motivator.
yeah,
It's just too short-term. But by the time you've done 3 months in the job, okay, you've got this money, but it, it what joy does that give you? What you know what I mean?
it's a couple of things. I almost feel like it depends on if
It depends
you,
on how much money, I
it
guess.
depends on how much money, and it depends on what your Like, is it a means to an end? Like, what's your long-term goals? So if I knew that by the age of 30 I wanted to retire, or I wanted to buy a house, or I'm doing something for my family, for my kids, for my husband, then yes, maybe making money moves and leaving a job every 2 to 3 years is, it fits into my wider goal. I'm making that sacrifice for, the good of the family, whatever, financial goals that may be. But if you're just doing it to run after money, you don't really have that in mind. For me personally, it's not something that that's not how I move, that's not how I work.
Mm,
It may be that 2 to 3 years pass and I just naturally feel that I've outgrown the company and I want to make a move,
hmm.
but
And
I
I felt
wouldn't
that.
consciously do it because I want to. It may be that I want to make a move, I've outgrown the company, I want different stuff, and I want more money, and it's all together.
Yeah,
But if I'm perfectly happy at my company and they're giving me what I need, I'm not going to leave my job just like just for more money.
yeah, yeah.
Or I'm not
And,
gonna,
and
or
for it to
if
tempt
my
me, for it
com
to tempt me, it's got to be significantly more, and
significantly
then I
more.
have to still go and do the due diligence checks on those other things that I
Yeah,
value.
because I'm
And
not
if it
gonna.
doesn't meet that, then then I can't go,
I
even if it's
agree.
significant money. And I tell you why. It's because I had an experience in the past where I worked for about 6 months for a company, and all those things that I talked about, the values and the things they care about and how they treated people, were not there,
Yeah, and you
right?
were on good money,
And
and it
I
just,
couldn't take it
yeah.
after 6 months. I couldn't take it, and I had to leave
And
because
you could have been on, if someone paid you 100K, 150K, would you have stayed?
no, no, I couldn't continue.
So that's the thing. Money, not all money is good money. I'm a firm believer of that.
Yeah,
And if it's interfering with your mental health and your well-being, then it's just
yeah,
not worth it.
it definitely was interfering with that.
For me, I agree. Like, if my current company is giving me that work-life balance, the, you know, res I've got different opportunities and all that other stuff, I'm not going to move to another company where I could be earning 10, 15, 20 grand more and not get that work-life balance.
Mm,
It's just not going to happen. And in actual fact, there's a person that I sort of know, and she was working in a company as a grad on about 28K or something like that. And she got promoted and onto the next level and went on to about, I think it was like 36K or something like that. So like a really good pay rise.
yeah,
And however, she felt like she was a don. She felt like she was a shit,
yeah.
and felt and decided to move to another consultancy company where the starting salary for grads, now this is a completely different type of consultancy, kind of more do a different type of work, but their starting salary was actually 50K.
Right.
So this is a
For the
company that,
grads,
for the grads. So actually no, I'd tell a lie. It was 45K.
for the
Sorry, I'm wrong.
grads.
Yeah, for the
Wow.
grads. And you got a sign-on bonus and a company car and obviously a laptop and a phone.
Mm,
And she went and made the money move. And she's been there for about a year now, and I hear that she absolutely hates it because for that whole year she's been working out of town, like in Cornwall or somewhere,
hmm.
away from family and friends, and absolutely hates it, and is out of town Monday to Friday, and it's really intense. People, they expect you to work super long hours, and she just doesn't like it.
Right.
But again, she made the money move because she wanted to buy a house.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but I also think sometimes that you can make the money move and feel happy,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
don't think it has to be one or the other. I don't think you
Yeah,
should sacrifice your happiness for more money. I
yeah.
don't know.
I know sometimes it's difficult.
People may
I think
have
what it
mixed
is
views on that.
sometimes
Yeah, it's
is that
difficult if you've
you
got.
take the first job you get sometimes,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
And which is not a good trait to do, but if it's right, it's right. But if it's wrong, you need to see those red flags, you know?
yeah,
And I think that's what it is sometimes, and you end up in these positions.
yeah.
But if you spend a bit more time, it's possible.
I agree, but I think also sometimes people feel like, oh, I don't know. I feel like there's people would there's two extremes. People will either put so much weight on salary,
Hmm.
money, So it skews what they see in the market and it skews their perception, or they put absolutely no value, no weight on money. And
Right.
I don't understand those people. I don't understand those people who are like, oh, I don't really care how much I'm on as long as I'm just, doing what I love. Or oh, I don't really care how much I'm on, as long as I'm on, a minimum of this and I'm fine. Like, oh, I don't really strive for that stuff.
Right, because
My mind
those
is
people
blown
will
by
be
that. I
chronically
cannot understand that.
underpaid.
You're chronically underpaid, and then it means that like I know money's not everything. Don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Don't come for me, people. But what I'm saying is, money, whether we like it or not, gives you opportunities and access and breathing space for things.
Mm.
And the moment that you don't have that money, the moment you can't pay your bills and you can't pay your mortgage,
The world closes in on you.
yeah, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it. And if you haven't been in that position, then I think it's hard for you to emphasize on what that really feels like. But it can be a really suffocating, lonely place. So I just think that I don't understand people who wouldn't want to have the freedom that money brings,
That's right. And
have the savings in the bank account.
we're not talking about, being a rapper or being rich
No,
or
I'm not
anything
talking
like that.
about,
We're
earning,
just
yeah,
talking about, salaries that are within people's grasp,
grasp, yeah.
depending on your industry and things like that. So yeah, totally agree.
So would you, if the price was really good, would that tempt you to leave? Someone was gonna earn like give
Yeah.
you really great money, whatever
Fair, I
that may
mean, if the
be.
price is right, the price is right, right?
Because
You could,
everyone's got a
if
price.
no, no, if everyone's got a price. If the price is right, right, you're gonna be able to talk to me and we're gonna have a chat. But the grass has to be green, right? Maybe not green now, but it's got to be green on the other side. So I need to check if the grass is green. I need
Yeah,
to check if it's work that I want to do, if it's good for my career, if it gives me that sense of happiness of or I'm not going to say happiness. It's not like I walk into work every day smiling, but satisfaction that I need to get from work.
yeah. And it's interesting because sometimes I think, oh, would I want to do a career change? And I'm really passionate about diversity and inclusion. Would I want to take a job in that industry?
Mm.
Kind of being a D&I lead, full time, in another kind of company, or kind of really specializing in that area because I am so passionate in it. But I'm always drawn back to the fact that I wouldn't want to leave. I wouldn't want to move into another role that I've got no experience in and go down in my salary. Do you
Yeah,
know
I
what I mean?
mean,
Because I feel
there's the
like once you're
problem with
there,
salaries as well. Like
y-
once you're on a high salary, you can't go down. You know what I mean? And until you're near retiring age or something like that,
yeah.
nobody wants to go back down
And you know what?
because
I remember having this conversation with someone. I think she worked at RBS, and she said the thing is, she's exactly the same thing. She goes, the thing is, um, I don't know what her salary was, but she said she's on a good salary, she's on a high salary, and she feels locked in.
yeah,
She feels like she cannot leave because she's not going to be able to get that anywhere else. If she was to change industry, change profession,
yeah,
so she has to stay. And that's exactly what salaries do. They lock you in so you feel like I cannot move because what happens is that your standard of living will match your salary.
that's right.
So the
It's a
moment you
dangerous,
drop,
yeah.
you're like, crap, I can't continue my standard of living. I can't have the same like smoked salmon or car or whatever it
And it's
is.
not even those things. So if you've got children and stuff like that, then you need to uphold their standard of
Yes,
life.
100%.
That's
You
number
can't
one,
afford to drop. And
right?
if you have a
And then number two
mortgage
is the
or
mortgage.
rent,
Once you're earning a certain amount, then most likely you're going to be, maybe you would have recently got on the property market, try to get a house that matches that type of income that you
yeah,
have. And once you do that, you've got to maintain those payments.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're losing the roof over your head.
yeah,
And so now you're trapped. You need to make that much money minimum, or you're going to struggle.
yeah.
So now you're stuck in your job unless you can find another one which will pay you the same. And sometimes that's very difficult to find. Once you start making you know a bit more money, it can be difficult to find
Those jobs,
those jobs
100%, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
those jobs where the grass is also green on the other side.
Yeah. Because I think as you go up and up in your career, you have more and more criteria that you want that company
Yeah,
to match.
that's right.
It could even be things like maternity leave. Oh, I want the company to pay me X maternity,
And this
paternity
is
leave,
why
all of
we
that
loop
stuff.
back to what we said at the beginning when we said the whole package is important, not just the
Yeah,
base salary, right? Like you say, maternity leave is a good one. The employee share scheme, overtime pay, bonuses, yearly bonus, right, is actually a really big one and important to a lot of people
a
that
lot
have
of
those
people
type
I
of
know
jobs.
won't move to a company unless they give them a yearly bonus.
Yeah,
And that is mainly because every year
they're used to
they're
getting that.
used to getting that, whereas I'm not used to getting a yearly bonus. So for me, if
Mm,
I got it now in a new company, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a nice that's a nice extra.
yeah.
But it wouldn't be it's not a mandate. It's not on my criteria. But I 100% know people where it is because they're so used to
Yeah.
getting a bonus every year.
And they feel that they should be entitled to it as well. And fair enough, because for the year you would have contributed significantly to the
Mm.
business, to their profits and stuff like that. So you want
You
something
want a
back,
share of the
right?
pie,
And if
yeah.
I'm not getting the share scheme, and if I'm not getting dividend out of that, then I need a bonus
Mm.
yearly, you know, maybe based on the company performance or something like that.
Do you know what? Actually, now you're going into it, I think it is just it is just so important to think about that overall
The overall
package
package is vital.
because it makes such a difference as to what your yeah, it makes such a difference.
Mm,
Because I'm just thinking of people that I know who they get their base salary, which is a good, strong base salary for their years of experience. They then get the option to opt into shares. They get a yearly bonus based on company performance. And then on top of that, they get the gym subsidy, the health insurance, the life insurance,
hmm
the extra kind of, they have it like different extra perks, whether that be discounts at different retail stores or anything like that. So it's all of that just mounts into your overall package. And if you work somewhere and you get no shares and you get no bonus and you get no gym subsidy, it's just a little bit like, okay, well,
What am I getting?
what am I getting? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. What am I getting? And is there somewhere else who will offer the same work-life balance, the same culture for the same money?
Mm,
And I think us as specifically black people need to not be afraid to look around and really think about what am I worth? Can I get that elsewhere? I mean, I know now, right now in COVID times, this is very tricky and not all it, obviously companies aren't thriving like they used to, so maybe not so much now, but in a normal climate, in a normal time, then it is to really think about what am I like, what else on the market? Is there, maybe this is the time where I do need to make those money moves.
yeah.
So I feel like we kind of answered this already.
hmm
But one question that we asked our Instagram followers is if you had to work long hours for more money, but you could retire at 35, are you going to take the job?
Mm.
And I feel like we've kind of alluded to what our answers would be a little bit, but for those of you who don't follow us on Instagram, our followers basically said that they would take the job if it meant that they could retire at 35. So majority of people said yes.
Oh, really? The majority.
The
Okay.
majority said yes. And those who said no, we reached out and was like, hey, what's your reasons for that? Because just interested. And what people came back and said was, you may not live until you're 35. So
Yeah.
you could work and work and work and
Yeah.
then, drop dead at 30 and then y- you haven't had that work-life balance. People said that life is for living and for enjoying,
Yeah.
not for working like a dog to get money. Um, and that they didn't want their life, up until 35 to be so consumed with work. Those are basically the three common things that people said.
Yeah.
So, Steph, what's your thoughts on that? I
I'm
feel like your
I'm
answer is a no as well. I feel like you're siding with those people.
I'm with those people. I cannot work myself for that. I think it was like 12-hour days or something like that for that long up until I'm 35.
Hagedon
I would,
worn.
yeah, I would
Gonna look
I would be
Hagedon
finished.
worn. You can tell when people are stressed or they've worked long hours,
Yeah.
it shows on their face. It ages them. Have you never been in a call with someone and They just have the stress just written on their face. You're like,
Yeah.
gosh, man, you look bad. You look bad.
I'm not
Oh,
even
I've
gonna
been
say,
I've been up all night. Not
yeah,
I haven't slept all night because I've been stressed, or I've been up all night working, and you're like, yeah, and I can tell. Like,
yeah. So yeah, I'm totally with these people. I would I would not do it, not be worth it for me. What do you think?
so I'm originally I was like, yes, I'm taking the job, and then when our followers said, gave the reasons that they gave, I was like, maybe it's a no.
But
So
you
I
have to
don't
bear
know.
in
I feel
mind,
like I'm
right?
torn. I'm thinking
You
if
can
it's
bear in mind
12-hour
you can
days.
retire at 35, right? Which is very young to retire. But personally, I think it for me it's probably too young to retire. Like, what am I gonna do for the rest of my life?
No, 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 no,
No?
no. If because think about it, if we won the lottery and we got 100 mil,
Yeah.
am I working on Monday? No, handing in my notice. I'm off. I'm off. I'm off. Like, no doubt in my mind, if I won 1 million tomorrow, sorry, 100 million tomorrow, I'm handing in my notice Monday morning.
Well, they know that now, don't they?
I would be very surprised if anyone was like, actually, I'm just going to keep on working 'cause I just love it so much. No, handing in my notice, then I can decide, is this something that I even really want? Like, obviously, I enjoy being a consultant, but I've got 100 mil. I've got
Yeah.
options. I don't even have to live in this country if I didn't want to. I could have houses in every continent if I wanted.
Yeah.
Do I really want to spend my whole year here working? Well, I could be over in Barbados.
Mm.
So I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I
So
mean,
that
I
you
could
can
find things to do
you
after
can find
35.
things to do at 35.
Yeah. I would probably still end up working though in some way. Like I'll probably like start a business and do my own
You
thing
can do whatever you
that I
want with
want to do.
100 mil.
But
Start your own property business.
yeah, but I would not work for an employer if I was
No,
that rich.
no, neither would I. Neither would I. Start my own clothing, like anything. So the option of retiring at 35 sounds very appealing.
Mm,
And if you can retire at 35, that means that you've got enough money to live off. Like whatever money you've made is so much that you can now live off that money for the rest of your life. And I'm going to assume you're mortgage free because you don't need to work. Because most people work to pay off their mortgage or
yeah,
to have some disposable income. So yeah, it's a funny one. But then that, but 35. I mean, I'm 28, so what is that? 7 years of 12-hour days. I mean, I was working very long hours earlier this year, and it it wasn't good. I was starting to age. The
I
black was
mean,
starting to crack.
I have worked long days and nights before, but yeah,
For
not for
years.
years on end. But yeah, it. Nah, I don't even know. By the time I've reached 35, I'll probably be looking 60 at that point.
Yeah.
To be fair though,
I don't know if
probably
I'd still want
no.
you
To be
anymore.
fair, we'll be exaggerating because there are countries that do that already. Like I think it's in China. They work seven
Long
days a week.
hours.
They work 7 days a week. Longer hours than we do, I think. And definitely in India, they work. I think it's 9 hour days, like
Yeah, they work very
minimum,
long
like
days.
over there. So um, it's a hypothetical question, but yeah, it's interesting to see some of the responses on our Instagram for some of our followers.
For sure, for sure. And if you're listening to this and you don't already follow us on Instagram, give us a follow and you can get involved in more of the conversations that we ask people.
Mm,
So you can follow us at Ordinary Black Professionals.
that's right.
So yeah, I think we've covered everything there in terms of kind of the overall salaries that people earn at in the consulting industry, and also kind of the additional benefits that they get, whether that's a bonus or a share scheme or health insurance, life insurance, whatever it may be, overall package. Talking about your salaries, the pros and the cons of that.
Hmm.
Let us know, drop us an email if you've had any successes at talking about your salaries. We'd love to hear your
Yeah,
story.
with your friends, family, colleagues.
Yeah, it'd be really
Yeah.
interesting to hear those stories, and we can, and if you feel comfortable, we can talk about that on air. kind of read your letter on air and talk about that. And then also kind of the thoughts on leaving your job every 2 to 3 years and working really hard so you can retire at 35. So we've kind of given a perspective on that.
Mm.
That money's not everything, but it is important. And so it has to be taken into consideration when looking for a
Yeah,
job.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, and the whole package
And
as
the
well.
whole package, yeah, exactly, exactly. So we'll leave it there. Again, get in touch with us if you've got any kind of comments on this episode of salaries, if you want to share your own stories about talking of salaries. And we will catch up for you next week. Bye, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye. If you have any questions or dilemmas, email us on ordinaryblackprofessionals@gmail.com, or we can be found on Instagram and Twitter @ordinaryblackprofessionals. Also, don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and leave a rating and comment.